In this video, I'm explaining a little bit of how I use crayons and pens to make notes in my Note Taker's Bible, all of these that you see here. So I just used regular Crayola crayons. These are just a few of the boxes that came in this really big set that my sister got for me because I love crayons. So I have a ton of different options to choose from. These are some of my favorites because they go on really well. But any box of crayons will work. I had a 24 pack for a while that worked really well. So you don't need a ton of colors. But I do recommend just regular crayons because I tried the Crayola Twistables. And once they break, you really can't do anything with them. But you can do a lot with these even if they break. So I use these for the colors. And then I use these pens from Hobby Lobby to make the notes so that I can write really tiny and still be pretty clear. And so these are the best pens that I found to write tiny, and they don't bleed through or anything. So they're really inexpensive, and they come in sets of 4, so I'm using the other one right now. But I really like these. Sometimes it's hit or miss with the tips, if they're really fine or not, but most of the time they are. So they are really great, and they come in really pretty designs too. So one of the things I like to mark in my Bible in the notes is Greek words or Hebrew words. In this case, it's Hebrew words because I'm in Deuteronomy. But if there's a word that I find interesting, I'll look it up on Blue Letter Bible and write the definition in right in the margin so that I can look at it later. And I do the same thing with the Book of Acts. And there are a lot of those as well. Let me see if I can find one here. Also in the Book of Acts, you're going to see where I have a lot of similar things written. I have the same phrase written over and over again, and I really like doing this because you can trace themes not only through specific books, but also through the entire Bible. So one of the things that really stood out to me in the Book of Acts was later on in the book, broken glass keeps shattering. And this comes from a story from Watchman Nee, a missionary in China. And he used this example of breaking a glass on the ground and then stomping on the pieces of glass, and the broken glass just kept shattering and shattering. And no matter how much he tried to stomp on the glass, it just kept breaking. And so that's an example of persecution. No matter how hard you try to stop the church, it just keeps spreading. And so that example is seen so many times in the Book of Acts. And not only in the Book of Acts, but also in, in 1 Thessalonians. And also you can see it here in Philippians. There's one. There's another example there in Philippians. And then, like I said, in 1 Thessalonians, there it is again. And there it is again. And here's another thing that you can see. Our God gives joy. Our God gives abundantly. Stand firm is another one that is very common. I am not exactly sure where I found it first, but I have that one written in. There's another one. Stand firm, and a broken glass keeps shattering. So it's not only a great way to keep track of themes throughout books, but you can also find them easily throughout the Bible, and I really enjoy that. Another one that while I was reading through the book of, I believe it was through the book of Deuteronomy, was the theme of remember. He says over and over and over in not only in Deuteronomy but in other books as well. Moses is saying, remember. Here's another, our God gives joy. There's remember. And I try to write remember in the same kind of handwriting so that it's easier to see. There it is again, because you have to be careful. You must remember because it's so easy to forget. And that's a common theme throughout all of the entire Bible. And so being able to trace those themes is really cool. Another thing I write in my margins are notes. So this is from the ESV Study Bible that I have. There's this, and I like to use commentaries. I find them on Blue Letter Bible, or I have them in books, and so I like to write the it's almost like a little code in my Bible because it's a shorter way of writing it, but that way I know where these quotes or these notes came from so that I can go back and look at them if I want to. I also write in other versions of how this, a specific part is translated. I find it interesting, and sometimes it helps to understand it a little bit more. And as you can see, I still need to color in some things. What I do when I'm coloring my notes is I take separate colors. Usually there's not really much rhyme or reason to the colors other than I don't want there to be the same colors close together. And that's just so it's easier to see. Let's see. Here in the book of John, I did a study online with a lot of people during COVID, and so I took a lot of notes from that study manual. But what I do is I color the phrase or the word that the note is related to, and then I write the note down at the bottom or on the side or whatever, and then just draw an arrow to it so you can easily trace the colors. So like this note goes to that one, this note goes to this. I write cross-references. You can see here there are a lot of cross-references relating to the phrase "he wrote about me." So different instances where Moses wrote about Jesus, and some of the instances that Jesus may be referencing when he says that in John. So I do that, just lots and lots of cross-references. Sometimes a phrase will get stuck in my head, and so I'll just write it out. But that's usually what I do when I'm writing notes. And yeah, that's about it. That's how I color code.